The Republican governor of South Dakota, Kristi Noem, who you see here, is facing new questions tonight from lawmakers in her state and also facing new legal action over this 5-minute video that she posted, not related at all to her state or her gubernatorial duties, but instead about her teeth. Noem, who I should note here is on the short list to be Trump's potential vice presidential pick, posted this 5-minute uncanny testimonial video. I guess you could say it's about her dental work at a Houston area cosmetic dentistry firm. Here's a taste of what she had to say.
Well, hi, I'm Kristi Noem. I'm the governor of South Dakota and had the opportunity to come to Smile, Texas to fix my teeth, which has been absolutely amazing. You know, I think that I chose the team here at Smile, Texas because they're the best. When they showed me my beautiful new teeth, I hugged Dr. Davis and thanked him and started to cry just because he really does care about the work that he does.
That video has now sparked questions about whether the clip was produced or posted to offset the cost of that procedure. Questions, which I should note, Noem's office has declined to answer in the nearly 48 hours since she posted it. My next guest has been going over every angle of this story. New York Magazine's Washington correspondent Olivia Nuzzi joins me now. Olivia, I know you are one of the reporters who reached out to Governor Noem's office. Did you hear anything from them?
I did not hear back. I talked to a very polite receptionist who had no information for me whatsoever, but I never heard back from them. And the dental practice in question, Texas Smile, they have been very dodgy. They've given different answers to different reporters who have reached out to the AP tonight. They're reporting that the office said that they were referring them to one law. To me, they said it was a HIPAA violation to disclose any information about whether or not there was payment to Kristi Noem, or whether or not she received this procedure for free in exchange for her posting this testimony.
Well, and I think that's a critical point here. I mean, no one cares if someone has cosmetic procedures or whatever they have done.
And she looks great, by the way. Her teeth look great.
her teeth do look great. It's a great smile. But I think it's the question of it's a publicly elected official. She's posting about a business that's not even in her home state. It's in the state of Texas.
It's very strange. I think the first reaction for most people seeing it was just that it was very odd. I mean, typically, if you are a politician from a state, or particularly if you're the governor, you're not going to promote small businesses that are not located in your state. It's very unusual. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. So that was the first strange thing that jumped out. And then it's very strange to have a sitting politician, a governor, behaving sort of like an Instagram influencer. And there are laws that govern this type of thing. You are supposed to disclose whether or not you are posting an ad or whether or not it's a video that's not, biased towards your profit in any sort of way. And that's for all people. That's not just for politicians. So if Governor Noem is flouting those laws, I think the public has a right to know.
Yeah, and she's not the only one posting. One of the dentists at this place that is called Smile, Texas, posted this photo and said, "This gracious leading lady just received an executive, feminine, beautiful smile here at Smile, Texas." And I mean, you mentioned the potential legal action. She is facing a lawsuit by a consumer advocacy group, Travelers United, that says that it is an undisclosed advertisement because it doesn't say ad or anything on it. I mean, we've seen other people like Kim Kardashian, face actual legal repercussions and have to make payments because of something like that.
Right. In theory, the standard should be higher for elected officials. The standard should not be that they behave like influencers. It should be that they behave in a more ethical manner than influencers. So it's a very strange case. And I should note the AP reported that the dental practice said that only Governor Noem had posted a video. That's not true. The dentist who performed the procedure, whom Governor Noem refers to in that video, also posted it, and he also promised to post a more in-depth video about the specifics of the procedure. So there's some misinformation floating around from this Texas dental practice.
Well, it's also just notable that sentence, but it's also just notable that her office hasn't said anything about it. And I think the one thing that we've noticed this pattern of in differing ways. Haven't seen it with anyone's Smile in recent weeks, but it's for people who are on Trump's VP shortlist and the way that they've acted publicly, given he is a very optics-driven former presidential candidate.
It's true. looks matter to the former president. And so I suppose if you were vying to be his vice president right now, it's not the dumbest idea in the world to make sure that your smile is particularly camera ready.
Have you heard anything from people in Trump world about this?
I haven't really. I've just, from all sorts of people in politics, a lot of, what the hell is going on with this? It's a very strange story, and that's by the standards of 2024, which is saying a lot.
It absolutely is. Olivia Nuzzi, I know that you will stay on this with your impeccable reporting skills.
My Pulitzer is in the mail, I assume.
Thank you so much, Olivia.
Thank you.
Thank you